Hello, everybody. Welcome. We're excited that you are here today. We are talking about using the family. So anybody that's in your current household or anybody that you connect with to boost your mental health. So I am Stephanie. If this is your first time watching one of our videos, I am a licensed professional counselor in Dallas, Texas, and I get to do this work with
I'm Tara Becker, and I am a licensed master social worker here in Dallas, Texas as well. So Steph and I are so excited to be here with you today. Thanks for tuning in with us again if you've watched our videos before.
Yes. And we're excited about these past few recordings that we've done because we're talking about the entire family and how you can do things together.
Yeah.
And this is a good one because we're talking about how to, in community, in your family community, how you can use that to boost your mental health because we all get stressed out, adults, children, and it can be contagious.
Yes, right? Absolutely.
So it can be contagious, but so can joy and boosting the mental health. So that's what we're gonna really focus on today.
And knowing that we all experience stress, it's something that parents or caregivers, we know you want to help your kids learn how to do, and doing it together as a family is a great way to model how you can kind of start building habits for stress relief in your daily life that impact everyone.
Yeah,
excited.
So we're first gonna start off just level set with what we mean when we say mental health. That word has been going around a lot. And so for the purposes of this video, when we talk about mental health, we are talking about a state of mental well-being.
Yeah.
Something that helps people, including you and your family members, to cope with stressors that happen in life and to also understand your own abilities to learn and to be able to work well with your family members, your school peers, your schoolmates, your friends. It's just a state of feeling well. It doesn't mean that you always feel good all the time, or that you're not able to kind of balance. It's just health, like your physical health. Then we have our mental health.
Yeah.
So that's our definition.
I love that you say it doesn't mean we're happy all the time.
Right.
It just means that we're able to kind of navigate those challenges. We have kind of normal swings of being happy, sad. Our emotions are changing all the time.
All the time. And so having that health means that when you do have those maybe low moments, then you are aware of some ways to cope.
Yeah, and you're able to come back.
Yeah.
Be okay.
So now that we kind of know what we're talking about when we talk about mental health, these things I'm sure are no surprise to you, but we are gonna just talk about some of the normal stressors, the typical stressors that happen with us, especially now. We've been through a lot as just a whole community. So we have life stressors. So I want you to think about as you're watching, not just you, but if you're the parent watching this or the guardian, but think about your child too. So our life stressors can include schoolwork, any type of extracurricular activity, family things that happen, whether that's divorce or separation, or the opposite, right? A marriage, a blending of families can be super stressful. Friends, and you'll hear from some teens in a second about what kind of stresses them out. Bullying, as well as any type of abuse. We know a lot of children have been in places where they've experienced some neglect or some abuse in their home. So we don't want to miss that.
No, that's it's just anytime we have relationships with other people, there's usually going to be some kind of stress involved.
Yes. So we have our life stressors, and this is the next one is one we are all very familiar with now. So we can have a collective stressor, are those environmental stressors. So including the natural disasters, the tornadoes, the hurricanes, the earthquakes. So natural disasters that are happening that are outside of our control, pandemics, right? COVID-19 was a huge environmental stressor. Even though we all experienced it differently, we can all agree that there was some of that was stressful for some of us.
Yeah.
The news, my goodness. Tara and I were talking about this before about just sometimes watching the news or being on social media and kind of seeing the things that are happening in the world can be a stressor for you. The weather. So I do not like thunderstorms.
Oh no,
And
we had one last night.
We had one. I do not like thunderstorms. I am at my big age, they scare me.
Yeah.
So that is a stressor for me. Anytime I hear lightning or thunder, I just automatically go to my coping skills because I'm stressed. So
See, I love storms, but I don't like having to go out in the world.
Yeah.
Rain or storms of any kind. And so, yeah, that's a stressor for me
Yes.
too. Yeah.
So those, and crime is one that we talk about too, because just our depending on what type of communities you live in, and that can connect with the news, right? So hearing about the gun violence and things that are going on in our environment. So we have our life stressors, our environmental stressors, and then your physical body stressors, especially for our teenagers who are hitting that puberty. You know, things are changing. And that can be stressful.
Hormone changes are really hard to navigate sometimes. Like, our emotions seem to be a little bit all over the place, overwhelming.
Yeah. And then injuries, right? And sicknesses and things that just kind of come out the blue. When we're talking about COVID, I know when I was working and seeing some kids for therapy, when COVID first started, then they started to become really stressed about other physical ailments. So not just COVID, but the flu, anything that would happen, it would cause them some anxiety or some stress around that.
Yeah.
So our life stressors, environmental stressors, physical, and then lastly, mental and emotional stressors, things that kind of start in our mind. Think about yourself and your adolescent around self-esteem, just those negative thoughts, isolation and loneliness. Those are huge stressors that can kind of impact our mental health in ways that make us need our community and need our family. So we're going to bring it a little closer to home, and we want you to listen to this video of with a few teenagers talking about things that stress them out, and see if anything familiar pops out to you.
In middle school, stress can usually be like when you're having a hard time concentrating.
I guess it's kind of like a feeling that you get when a certain thing is overwhelming. I remember there's this one night, maybe last year, and I had so much homework, and that was super stressful.
Girl drama, where like your friends are like, oh, you're being mean to me, I don't want to talk to you. And you're like, wait, what did I do?
So I made this friend summer going into 7th grade. He came out to me and he was like, hey, I'm gender non-binary, you can call me any pronouns as long as they're not she.
Someone is like, oh, where are you from? And I'm like, my dad is from Mexico. And they're like, oh, so you're Latino? I'm like, yes. And sometimes they don't want to be my friend anymore just because of how I am.
So I started thinking, am I really a girl? It was a whole lot of things that had just wrapped around me, and it was stressful making the choice, and it was stressful wanting to tell someone, because before meeting him, I didn't know who to tell.
I don't like seeing people being bullied. And when it happens to me, sometimes I just try to stay strong, not to show them that I'm weak, because then they're gonna put you even more down.
So hopefully, as you were watching that, even if you're adolescent yourself watching and could connect with some of that, or even as a parent or a guardian, just kind of hear sometimes the best people to hear from about their stressors, or the people who are experiencing those stressors.
Yeah, we encourage you to, maybe when this video is done, or when our whole video is done, to take a second and talk to each other. And parents or caregivers, you might find yourself in a situation where you're like, well, I don't want to let my kids know, that I'm stressed about anything. And while it's good, you want to have boundaries and limits, but at the same time, it's good to let your kids know that you're not perfect, because it can be hard for them to kind of open up and trust you with their struggles and stressors that they think that you don't have any. So finding things that you can share to let them know, like, oh, I get sad sometimes, or I've been through hard things, that can be really helpful for them to hear. So we've talked a lot about stress, the stressors. So I'm going to use that word stressor. So everything that Steph talked about in that last slide was all of the stressors that we can experience in our lives. And what we know about stressors is that our whole brain and body react to them. And what really matters is whether we perceive something as stressful or threatening. So even if like maybe you're a caregiver watching your kiddo and you're like, this isn't actually that big of a deal, like this isn't like a thing we should be stressed about. What matters is how does your kid perceive it? And they might feel like, yeah, this is something that's really hard for me, or like maybe it's threatening my friendships at school. So little things can cause us stress. And I want to talk to you about the stress cycle. So this is a term that's been coined by the Nagoski sisters, Amelia and Emily, and they point out that stress has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I think most of us are really familiar with the first two parts.
Right.
Like we have a stressor, we experience, our whole brain and body react, and we, maybe we feel it. So like we feel it in our shoulders, we feel it in our stomach, we feel it in our heart rate, and we feel it in our mind, like we're feeling anxious or upset. But then that's really it. But really, they point out that there should be an end. So we should also get to a point where we're like, you know what, this stress cycle is over. I've escaped the threat and it's finished. But a lot of us in our modern lives, we kind of get stuck in that middle space. So let's say that if you're a caregiver and you're at work, or if you're a kiddo and you're at school, maybe you have a big test or a big project, you feel all that anxiety coming up, you feel the stressor, but maybe after you do the stress or the test or the presentation, you got something else that comes up and you don't actually ever stop to say like, okay, this is finished, complete, I can celebrate, I can relax. It's really important that we find a way to complete the cycle and get to that third step. And you might think about just on a daily basis, you're experiencing stress all the time over and over and over again. How often are you completing your cycle? So for many of us, we don't get the opportunity to do that every time, but luckily there are ways like in our evenings or when we're done with our school or workday that we can tell our brains and bodies that we're safe and kind of complete that cycle. And we're going to talk about what some of those are.
Yes.
So the most efficient way, physical activity. So have you ever just been in your living room and you just danced it out? Or have you like gone to a soccer game and then all of a sudden you just feel better?
Yeah.
I know Steph likes to run, like maybe you just go for a run and then you just feel better afterwards. That's because running or physical activity is one way that we can tell our bodies, hey, we've beaten off the stress, we've completed the cycle, and now we're safe and we can relax and be done. So we have some pictures up here. So maybe every family has a different way that they like to be physically active together, maybe like football, dancing, soccer, maybe like to go on a run together. That could be something that you enjoy. So whatever physical activity your family likes, it could be a great way to relieve stress together. You might also be watching this and be like, none of these are for us.
And I think that's a good thing to point out, because when I see physical activity, I just think about playing, right? And as our adolescents, as our kids grow, unfortunately, sometimes we lose that desire to play, just to have fun, just to go outside. Again, if you want to run, you can run, but things like hide and go seek, that is a physical activity that is also very, very fun. So thinking about the things you can do to invite play with your teen and with you as adults, we need to play. And the Nagoski sisters have shared how that play and how that physical activity can really help boost your mental health. This is why recess is important for our younger kids. And just because we age, it doesn't mean that we don't need to play anymore.
And this might be an opportunity to connect to where you might be like, my kid loves this activity. I don't. I put myself in that position. And all the time. And even Steph and I was sharing this just talking, and she was encouraging me, just try it for 5 minutes, try it for 10 minutes. And I encourage you to do that too. Maybe your kid can teach you about something that they love. And even if you just set a time limit and do it for a short time, you might really start to enjoy it, or at least you'll have some side benefits of some stress relief.
Absolutely.
But we want to share that there's other research-backed ways that you probably already do anyways, that you can access in order to complete your stress cycle. So this is an overview of some: deep breathing, positive social interaction, affection, laughter, creative expression, and crying. And we're going to kind of talk through each one of these. So the first one is deep breathing, so that we know that when you take really deep breaths, it can regulate your nervous system, and that's another way to show your body that you're safe. There's a lot of really cool videos now just on YouTube that you can do for deep breathing, and you can, take turns finding ones that you like or finding ones that your kids like. It might feel kind of silly or cheesy at first.
Yeah.
We're gonna try this one together, and you might be like, "Oh, kind of weird," but you might even find opportunities to practice, like before dinner, if everybody's all over the place, like, hey, let's just take a couple deep breaths together.
Yeah.
Find ways, even if they feel silly at first, to try this out.
A good place to add one deep breath is if you pick your kiddos up from school, or before dropping them off. Just pause. Let's take one deep breath before you walk into the school. When I picked you up, before I start getting into you about how was your day, how are you doing? And
just take a breath.
And your kid, like I used to do, just kind of peers out the window, like, please stop talking. You get in a habit of taking that one deep breath, and it'll become so routine that you're just doing it without having to be reminded about it.
Yeah, and we know deep breathing is actually a tool we can use when we're feeling overwhelmed or anxious, but we have to practice it during times when we're feeling calm and relaxed in order for it to be a tool that we can use when we really need it.
Exactly.
So we're going to go ahead and try this one together. I'm going to do it.
Have some fun.
Yeah, have some fun together. I'm going to try not to hit you.
It's
We can use our bodies to change how we feel. This exercise will teach you how to raise your energy and face your day. Close your eyes or keep them open. Have fun with it. Sit tall. You can be on the ground with your legs crossed, or sitting at the front edge of your chair with your feet flat on the floor. Let your arms hang down at your sides. Open and close your hands a couple times to warm up your body. Now turn the palms of your hands so that they're facing forward, and stretch your fingers long. Keeping your arms straight, slowly float them up from your sides. Feel how wide your hands can reach, to the side and then up. Reach a little higher if it feels okay for your body. Now let your arms come down and return to your sides. This time, if we match our breathing with our movement, it might help us to feel more alert, calm, more energized, and in control. Notice how you feel when you add your breath to your movement. Turn your palms out and reach wide for a bigger rainbow. Fill with air the whole way up. And if you need to take another breath at any time, go ahead, do that. It's all good. Once your arms are up, go ahead and exhale. Relax up there. Enjoy the rainbow. Your rainbow has faded away. Let's make another one as you come down. Breathe in to get ready. Breathe out and see the rainbow form as your arms float down to your sides. Let's do that 2 more times. Arms go wide and up with your in-breath. And the arms come down with your out-breath. If possible, stand up for your next rainbow breath. Rotate your palms out.
So go ahead and pull your palms down and just kind of shake out your arms. I'm going to go ahead and stop our video, but we'll put this in the resource so that you can have an opportunity to watch the whole thing together if you'd like. So just pay attention to how you feel. Did that help change the way that your body feels or the way that your mind feels? If this one felt fun to you, that's great. If there's one that you want to look for that matches better with your personality or that of your family, look for some ones that you like.
I know some things that we work with families about when it comes to breathing too is coming up with a family breath, right?
Yeah.
So this is a rainbow breath, but during a time where you guys are just talking or whatever, and you may be talking about stress and things like that, you say, let's come up with our own family breath. You guys can name it whatever you want to name it. That way, when you need it or when you observe that one of your family members is feeling really stressed out, you can ask, do we want to do the Smith breath?
Yeah.
Is that what we want to do?
Yeah.
You can come up, it's not like a secret handshake that only you and your family know. And that when your adolescents grow up and they move out the house, that's something that will stick with them.
Yeah.
And that can continue to leave a legacy of mental health.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So let's go ahead. So the next one that we're going to do is positive social interaction. And so this is one where you'll notice that family here is playing chess together, which is awesome. You can do any kind of like family board game night is a great way to have some interaction. I have a picture of a cup on here. There's a game called Pass the Cup. So if you're like, we're not into board games, I don't really know like what kind of games you could be playing together. But this is one that you could do at your dinner table. So if you have like at least 3 people at your table one night, if you take a cup and you have it full of water, you just pass it around. So like I would give it to Steph, she would give it to the next person, and we pass it around. Easy, right? Okay, so the next thing that you're gonna do is you're gonna close your eyes. And then you're gonna try to pass the cup to each other and make it all the way around the circle without spilling it. So it seems easy, but give it a shot and you might find yourself laughing. Somebody might get wet, no promises, but it's a great way to just kind of bring your attention into the present moment and do a challenge together as a family.
Another fun one, which has to do with physical activity too, but positive social interaction, are TikToks. I know people are,
to do the game together.
social media isn't all bad, you know, so finding TikToks that you can do if you want to, like Tara was saying, sometimes guardians are like, yeah, I don't feel like it, but just a way to connect and have some laughter, some fun together can also be a really good positive social interaction.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so this is a tricky one, but we know that affection is something that helps people feel safe, helps people feel loved, and also really releases a hormone that we call oxytocin.
Yeah.
And so it's the love hormone, but it's also the connection hormone. And it can be given even with a pet, right?
Yeah,
you have a dog, and
absolutely.
a dog gives you a big hug. That oxytocin is secreted throughout your body and it helps fight against the stress hormone, which is cortisol. But the tricky thing about affection is knowing what your family members like, really communicating to each other. This is how I like to feel affection. So for example, in my family, I am a hugger. My mother and sister are not. And so there are some times where they know I need it, and so they'll give me a hug. And then there's other times where they're like, I don't. That's
do
not.
that. Let's not.
I like
that's
it.
not going to make me feel better.
That doesn't make me feel better.
Yeah.
I rather you do this or do that. So getting really curious with your family members and asking the question. You don't want to guess or paying attention of how do you like for me to show you affection?
Yeah.
Even things simple as a high five, right? Or a hug if you have a hug, or just a pat on the shoulder, or showing that in the home that it's okay. It's okay to receive affection here and in our family. This is something that we do because we know there are a lot of stressors happening in the home as well as outside in the world. So affection is a huge one.
And I love that you said like having the conversation, because I think, that's something that we're also modeling for our kids, is that idea of consent and that what they want matters. And so like that starts with us, and we can kind of model that for each other. If your kid was like, I really don't want Like,
Choose not to have a hug right now.
Yeah, then maybe, yeah, that models for them that like, yeah, I see that that's what you need and I'm gonna respect that and we can find a different
Yes,
way. Yeah.
yes.
I
So-
like passion.
Yeah, me too. So our next one is one of my favorites is laughter, right? So having moments where there is just joy. Sometimes this happens naturally, and it happens a lot when we put our phones down.
Yeah.
That, but thinking about what you can do as a family to invite laughter into the space. So whether that's a family talent show or watching funny videos
Yeah.
together,
Yeah.
or parents, really learning what is it that brings my child joy as they're aging. Different things change. Some things may be funny to you that are not funny to them, and vice versa. But really thinking about what can give me a big belly laugh, and knowing that does help complete the stress cycle. So being intentional about, we had a stressful moment. What's something we can do to make us laugh today? And a lot of the times in families, you always have the clown, right? The family clown who loves to make people laugh, which is a beautiful thing. So laughter is another way that you can use at the end of the day, beginning of the day, anytime you feel that stress in your body and you need to complete that stress cycle.
And I don't know if we mentioned this, but usually when you complete the stress cycle, right? Like you feel this shift.
Yeah.
And so if you've ever just, been like watching a hilarious video and you laugh so hard and then at the end you feel like that,
yeah,
that's it. That's what you're going for. That's like what you're trying to find.
Yeah. And this is another one. And so the hope for all of these is you can do them individually, right? We all have stressors that we experience individually. So you can use these to complete your stress cycle individually. But our focus today is as a family. What does that look like to help you boost your mental health, leverage the people that you have in your life to help you manage stressors? And so this is our second to last one, and it's creative expression. Now, the interesting thing about this one is you can be creative with almost anything. We have a picture of people drawing and art and things because that's typically what we think about, but you can be creative with almost anything.
Yeah.
My favorite thing is with food.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. That's what.
Yeah, getting creative with your meals, acting out. One of my favorite not talk shows, but one of my favorite shows is Chopped.
Oh yeah.
On Food Network, and so
Give yourself a basket. That would be great.
So being really creative about how can we use our playtime to get creative, even if it is kind of bringing in some arts and crafts and coloring and drawing, but being intentional about with our family. We're always stressed around here. What's something that we can do creative, even more if we're thinking about going to a movie? How does the selection of that movie, how can we be creative in that? Because we all have a special gift that allows us to express. Some people sing, some people draw, some people, whatever it is. Notice that in your kiddos, and even in you as an adult, kind of think back to, what did I enjoy when I was younger? How did I express myself creatively? And bring that back into the fold to help with family.
Well, and I love that you brought up like the everyday things, because I was even thinking like, oh, you make a pizza and you can like let the kids go crazy, like make it look however they want. Because sometimes, like I know for me as a parent, like looking at social media, I'm like, oh, like the art projects or the things that I haven't done.
So
but
much.
there's all these opportunities just in daily life that we can kind of be creative with.
Yeah.
Have fun with.
Yeah. So anybody can do it. It can be done at any time. And then lastly, crying. Crying is okay.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of our kiddos in schools are really asking themselves that, is it okay to cry? And we know that our family is our practice ground for where we're able to learn which emotions are okay.
Yeah.
And so unintentionally sometimes, because it makes us feel uncomfortable, if a family member is crying or sad, then we may say things like, no, don't cry. It's
Yeah,
okay.
or just, if your kids are crying, like, just do this instead. Like, we just want to solve it because we feel responsible.
Or please stop crying.
Yeah.
So we'll say things like that, unintentionally.
Yeah.
Stopping that release. But sometimes you just need a big old cry, whether it's by yourself in the shower, you just feel it bubbling up and you're trying to stop yourself from doing it. just let it out, right?
Yeah.
And so understanding as a family that this does happen, we cry. And how do we support each other when those emotions start bubbling up?
This just made, it just came to my brain, but the other night, my daughter, so I have a younger daughter, I have dogs. And the other night she was eating a very nutritious, we should work on our nutrition, bagel bite snack. And her dad had told her she could have it as soon as she put her clothes on, like she was getting changed after a bath. And the dog ate all of the bagel bites off her plate. And so she came out and saw the plate. And she just started sobbing. And for some reason, like I was able to tap into that right in that moment, just be like, this is so upsetting. We didn't have any more bagel bites. She was just crying, but she just cried for a while and then she was okay. She felt better. But there was a part of me in that moment that wanted to be like, oh, we'll just get a different snack or, you know, fix it, solve it. But in that moment, she just needed to be really upset that her bagel bites were gone.
Right, absolutely. And this connects great with the affection one, right? So if you notice your family members are crying and you've learned how they need affection, that way you're normalizing crying. Right? It's okay, to cry. So we've kind of walked through those different ways to, as a family, complete the stress cycle, which in turn helps you leverage the individuals in your home to help your mental health, to boost your mental health.
And because we experience stress every day, we have to complete that stress cycle every day. And sometimes we don't, but it does like kind of pile up. So the more stress that you haven't relieved, the more things you need to do to feel better.
And so as we're getting ready to log off, we want you to think about a question, whatever time you're watching this during your day, think about the last time you were stressed, or if you currently are in the midst of a stressor, and ask yourself the question of, what have I done or what have we done to complete our stress cycle? Or if you're in the middle of something that's pretty stressful, hopefully it's not this video, you can ask yourself, how do I plan to complete my stress cycle today? Because it's not if you're going to get stressed, it's when you get stressed. How are you going to be intentional about using some of those tips that we talked about to help you as a family complete that stress cycle?
Feel better.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.